Throughout Throughout history, women have been at the forefront of change, breaking barriers, amplifying voices, and shaping a future that belongs to everyone. But the work isn't done yet. Today, we celebrate action, bold, fearless, and unstoppable. Welcome to your Conestoga Today. We will be continuing the celebration of International Women's Day in this edition of your Conestoga Today. I'm your host, Mama Zoe Wonkuro. But here's a little something for you. Do you feel it? That pulse beneath the pavement. It's time. It's time. It's past time. We have talked, we have marched, we've held signs high. But talking aren't enough when the glass ceiling is reinforced with steel. When the doors don't just shut, they vanish before she even gets the chance to knock. Accelerate action. It's not a suggestion, not a request. It's a call, a demand, and a necessity. Because a girl still sits at the back of the classroom. And not because she lacks brilliance, but because somewhere, someone decided science was not for her. Because a woman pitches the next big idea and hears it's too ambitious, too bold, too much. While a man in the next breath says the same thing, and they call him a visionary because a mother carries the weight of two worlds, one at home, one at work. And somehow society tells her she's failing at both. Because in boardrooms, in labs, in politics, the tables are set, but her seat is missing. Her mic is muted. So we accelerate, not for the sake of speed, but because slow change is no change at all. Because waiting for equity is like waiting for a storm to pause. The wind doesn't care how ready you are. We amplify, turn up the volume on her courage. Let her voice be the thunder that shakes ceilings. Let her footsteps echo loud enough to remind the world she's always been here. We bet on women, not because they are better, but because they have been told they aren't for far too long. Because the odds were never in their favor. Yet still, they rise. Still, they build. Still, they dream beyond the barriers designed to contain them. And we create opportunities, pathways, stages where none existed before. Because talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And a world that leaves half its brilliance behind will never shine as bright as it could. So here's to the ones breaking barriers, the ones rewriting rules, the ones who refuse to sit still and wait for a seat at the table. They're building your own. And to you, will you accelerate with us? Will you push, lift, build, speak? Will you be the reason another woman rises? Will you be the reason that she no longer has to fight to be seen? Because the time is now, the moment is here, and we are done waiting. Accelerate action. Let's move. Now, real change happens when people take practical steps. Here are some ways everyone can contribute to closing the gender gap. Amplify women's voices. In meetings, make sure women's ideas are heard. If a woman's point gets overlooked, repeat it and give her credit. Share and promote women's work, whether it's a project, a business, a book, or a social media post. Visibility matters. Advocate for equal pay. Talk openly about salaries to help identify wage gaps. Support legislation and workplace policies that push for pay transparency and fair wages. Call out bias when you see it. Challenge gender stereotypes in conversations, workplaces, and in the media. Speak up when you see unfair treatment or sexist remarks, even in casual settings. Support women-owned businesses. Shop from female entrepreneurs and recommend their businesses to others. Invest in women-led startups or mentor aspiring female entrepreneurs. Encourage girls in STEM and leadership. If you are a parent, a teacher, a mentor, encourage girls to explore STEM, leadership, and fields where women are underrepresented. Highlight role models in these spaces to inspire young girls. Share household and care responsibilities equally. Advocate for equal parental leave and workplace flexibility. If you are in a partnership, make sure unpaid labor, like childcare and housework, is evenly shared. Support and mentor women. If you're in a leadership role, mentor women in your industry. If you're starting out, seek mentors and become a mentor for others as you grow. Advocate for policies that support gender equality. Push for laws that protect women's rights in education, the workplace, and healthcare. Vote for leaders who prioritize gender equity policies. Engage men in the conversation. Gender equality isn't just a woman's issue, it benefits everyone. Encourage men to be allies, challenge toxic masculinity, and support women in leadership. And the last but not least, celebrate women's achievements loudly and proudly. Acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of women in your community, workplace, and industry. Nominate women for awards, leadership roles, and opportunities they deserve. Closing the gender gap isn't about taking from one group to give to another. It's about creating a fairer world where talent, ambition, and success aren't limited by gender. We'll take a short break now. I leave you with those thoughts, and when we return, I do have a guest who will join me to have a conversation on bias in education and workplace. See you soon.
That was really good.
Next episode. I'm your host, Mama So. Welcome. Yeah, so
it's quite simple, but recognizable anywhere in the world.
Wraps around the ear, and all I did with this one is I rolled that.
We're currently sitting in my studio space.
I started through discovering just different worlds of art.
Very quickly, it changed from statistics to poetry.
Connects my senses and it connects my brain.
I'm just making things that I think are cool.
More often than not, people are supportive.
How are people going to experience this, and what scale do things need to be?
The freedom was liberating for me to do something that I just love doing.
Still trying to figure out what my artistic career is. Who knows where I'll be in 2 years, 3 years. Who knows where I'll be in like 10 months, you know? That's great. Yeah.
In our ongoing mission to accelerate action and dismantle biases in education and the workforce, we're honored to welcome a guest who has dedicated her life to these very causes. Abimbola Akinnuoye is the esteemed founder of Leading Ladies Connect, an organization committed to empowering women and fostering leadership across various sectors. Abimbola has been a beacon of change, tirelessly working to break down barriers that hinder progress for women and marginalized groups. Through Leading Ladies Connect, Abimbola has created platforms that not only highlight the challenges faced by women in educational and professional settings, but also provide tangible solutions and mentorship to overcome these obstacles. Today, she joins us to delve into the critical topic of breaking bias in education and the workforce. With her wealth of experience and insightful perspectives, Abimbola will shed light on the systemic biases that persist and share actionable strategies to cultivate inclusive environments where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Please join me in welcoming Abimbola Akinnuoye. She connects with me via Zoom. Hi, Abimbola.
Hello, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Very well. And I see you're wearing your customized pink-white t-shirts, Leading Ladies
Yes,
Connect.
of course. Representing Little Ladies Connect all the way. Yes.
That's good to know. So, how are you feeling today? I mean, the weather's a bit warm.
Well, it's really beautiful out here. And, thank you so much for having me on this segment to talk about everything women. I love women. And, yeah, it's really beautiful. I'm feeling excited already.
Okay, so let's dive right in. My first question to you, Abimbola, would be, what is your thoughts around the theme for this year, Accelerate Action?
Honestly, celebrating Women's Month is one of the greatest things that I think happens every March. Accelerating action for me would mean not just sitting on the sidelines. It would mean taking action, doing exactly what you need to do, not waiting or wasting time or waiting for anyone to hand you anything. Just get started. That's it. Like the popular brand, just do it. I guess that's what it means for me.
Just do it. Okay. All right, Abimbola. So you sit in a space where you really mentor a number of women. My question to you would be that in the years that you've been doing this, what are those biases you have noticed or identified within the corporate spaces that must be addressed?
Well, I think that workplace inequality is something that we cannot stop talking about. It persists in pay gaps, for example, leadership representation for women. There are biases in hiring and promotions, and particularly for women of color. I think that one effective strategy that I would say would be let's invest more in things like mentorship and sponsorship, creating opportunities for women to actually advance in those spaces is one of the major things that I think would close that gap, and close it speedily as well.
That's good to know. Okay, so we're talking about gender parity, and some people hold the thought that gender parity is a highfalutin goal. It is unrealistic. What is your take on that?
Well, I think that women are essential. Men are essential as well. But I think women do so much and women go through so much, of course, as you know, right? I personally think that anyone who is in any capacity to support, uplift, challenge, help, amplify the voice of a woman in any capacity should definitely take that challenge seriously. Because the truth is, empowering one woman can definitely change a nation. So for me, I would say that most times when I'm thinking about what work are we going to do, what other initiative can we come up with to amplify the voices of women, that's what I'm thinking about. Because I know that changing one woman's trajectory or path in life can definitely affect generations to come. So that's why I definitely continue to lend my voice to things that actually advocate for pay growth structure, equal pay audits, transparent promotions, and things like that.
And I agree with you, because now we have stories of women who are leading in different sectors of our lives. We have Beyonce, for instance, in the entertainment industry. We have, Nkechi was here earlier, by the way, the VP of EDC. And we see women are beginning to stand up. But there's still this double standard between how women are perceived when it comes to the top tier leadership positions. What do you think that organizations can do to create room for women to have a seat and reward them for their efforts? Because sometimes there's this notion that they're not as qualified as their male counterparts.
Well, I think the first things first would be education. I think the basis for empowerment for anybody, especially women, would be education. when a woman is educated, she's bolder, she's more exposed, there's orientation there. And that's why, for example, for us at Leading Ladies Connect, we partnered up with, like, for example, Skill Heart to get more women to get into tech, UX design, project and product management, artificial intelligence, and stuff like that. Another thing that I would think about with, accelerating action for me would be things like, enforcing pay gap transparency.
Okay.
Because I know that most times women are way more qualified than men. And just because a woman feels like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm like enough to get this done, you'll be surprised that the person who is actually reluctant to take up a role is somebody who is overqualified for that role. Another thing that we do, and the reason why we do it, is investing in women, whether that is by, encouraging them to, take more professional action, improve themselves as individuals, or even funding their businesses. For example, we had the pitch competition recently closed at Leading Ladies Connect, where we opened up the application to fund female businesses. And trust me, we had over 500 applications turned in for businesses.
Wow.
Female-led businesses. So, I mean, this access to equal or equality, investing in women, education, the roles of sponsorship and mentorship, of course, can never be overemphasized. When women are in spaces where they are able to find other women who are doing great stuff. Like, for example, you mentioned Nkechi earlier. Nkechi is obviously a trailblazer who has really done so much good work, advancing women's rights and the workplace. She's worked in so many industries and in most of the biggest companies in Canada. So I mean, those kind of opportunities can only come when you put in the work. And also, again, I'm back to my initial base for acceleration would be for a woman to be educated.
Thank you so much for that perspective, Abimbola. Now, I would like to ask you a question. I mean, statistics says that oftentimes women feel unqualified. Now, they feel unqualified for 60% of the time for roles that they could give a chance at. But men, even though they are just 60% qualified for the role, or even 50, they take a chance at it. So why do you think that there's this, do I call it courage gap or confidence, lack of confidence in women? Why do you think women feel less confident about themselves, especially when it comes to building career trajectory and going for what they truly deserve within the workforce?
Honestly, I wish I had the answer to that question, but case by case, when you talk to women in general, I think that our orientation really needs to change for women everywhere. Because, like you said, a man would see a job that he's most likely not qualified for and would definitely apply or, raise up his hand to say, yeah, I'm going to do the opportunity. But while he's saying that, he probably doesn't even know how he's going to do it. But he's just going to say, yes, pick me. I will do it. And I will do a good job, right? But I think one of the ways that we can, as women, continue to improve each other would definitely be proactive in learning. I like, again, education is one of my major, and that's why, most of the programs that we do at Leading Ladies Connect, we focus on like initiatives that actually drive educational programs, taking courses, putting women in rooms or spaces that on a normal day, whether it's professionally or in their businesses, those opportunities might not happen. That's why we seek strategic partnership with bigger companies, organizations that on a normal day, most people just feel like, maybe not for me, but we are willing to go there and, knock on the door. What's the worst that can happen? Maybe a no, but at least I tried. I did knock, right? So I would say to women everywhere listening or watching, one of the things that you can do definitely to use your voice as much as you can in whatever capacity that you can. I mean, not everybody can or will be Leading Ladies Connect, but if you're able to use your voice in the capacity that you are at work, in your business, with your business, even with servicing your customers, it would make a great difference in the world.
Amazing. Now, can we talk about some of those partnerships that you're currently having with those organizations? What strategies have you learned, or what strategies have you seen to be effective in carrying out or rather in shifting the post, from where it was to where it is now. We're not there yet, but I can see that it's a bit of progress. So what strategies have been implemented and you think we should continue to consolidate on because they're actually working?
Well, I think we're making progress, but what I would ask is we move faster, right?
Yes, yes, for sure.
Because I mean, in 2025, a lot of progress have been made. I'm sure if you interview or talk to women who were probably raised in the 80s and the 70s, they would be like, well, 2025, you guys have made a lot of difference. And you know, with speaking to that, we cannot underestimate the work of what so many great women have done in paving the way for other women, right? So what I would say, first of all, would be, how did we secure some of the strategic partnerships that we've done? I think it would be audacity for me.
Okay.
Because I usually would see opportunities where most people might not be looking, or they might be looking and they don't see those opportunities. For example, with Skill Hard, we started Tech Rise because I feel like we need a lot more women in tech roles, for example, right? UX designers, product managers, project managers, artificial intelligence, of course, we know is taking over the world right now. We need more women in those spaces. Some of all these software development roles, you find that like they are really male dominated. But the truth is, if more women occupy those spaces, it would definitely be good because, of course, we all know women do things best, right? So in approaching Skill Hard for the partnership, it was very simple. We want to get more women into tech. How are you able to amplify the voices of women and encourage more women to sign up and, you know, take courses or classes that would help them get into those spaces? Some of the other partnerships that we secured, of course, would be like, for example, with Microsoft, to be able to host events where, you know, continually we're able to amplify the voices of women, let the women know how technology can move their businesses forward, or even professionally, how can you use technology as we know it today to make your life easier, to save time, you know, to have more time to be able to spend at home with your kids, for example, if you're a mom, you know, that's one of the reasons, or one of the burning passion that, you know, is in my heart when I think about crafting up partnership or programs for the women, especially the women in our community and leading Ladies Connect.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Abimbola. Now let's talk about how women juggle their responsibilities both at home and at work. It's quite tough sometimes to balance both. But as an A-list women leader or mentor, what advice would you give to a woman who's still struggling to find her voice because she's overwhelmed by striking the balance between work and you know, and the home front?
Well, I think that balancing home and career is one of the biggest challenges that women face. It's one of the reasons why, for example, when we do host conferences and workshops, I always try to like make room for childcare. But I think that, you know, women carry majority of the load. But what I would say is that, you know, the best way that we can do this to support women every time and in every way would be for workplaces to introduce, for example, more flexible work environments where women can actually thrive, you know, whether it's by, you know, increasing maybe like maternal leave, or even having people take on remote jobs. I mean, COVID definitely ushered in the remote work model that has worked effectively. You know, it has helped more women spend more time at home, be more present at home. And, you know, other opportunities that actually make life easier for women is something that I feel should be a welcome development in every kind of conversation. Because the truth is, when a woman is less stressed and she has less things to worry about, I think she's able to function optimally.
That's great. Can we now dive into the home front and see a little more ways how, even within the family circle, we all can contribute to building confidence in our women? Now, I know that I'm from Africa, I'm Nigerian, for instance, and in Nigeria, we seem to be very hard on the boys. You know, they have to do the hard labor. The girls, you know, they're a little on the softer side. So I think on the long run, this sort of affects our psychology. So we're told we're the weaker vessels, we're not strong enough. How can we, in the home front, begin to prepare our children to have grit, resiliency, and that force to dream big and even go into male-dominated fields to also make a value or impact there?
Honestly, I feel that there's a popular quote that's one of my guests on my show, Lady Talks, talked about, That quote, I think, was by Nelson Mandela, and her name was Stephanie. She said, if you wanted to change the world, go home and love your family. Right? That quote has stuck with me so much. And I thought about it, how deep it is that where the change in the world starts from is at home.
True.
Whether you send your children to the best schools, Ivy League schools, most of the change that happens starts with the home front. How can we start raising the next generation of women? For example, encourage your girl children to spend more time learning. Encourage them to stay informed about at least not knowing everything, but at least a bit of everything. That way, a well-rounded woman who is able to hold a conversation is way more confident than somebody that feels like, oh my God, if somebody asks me a question now, I don't know what to say, right? Sure. So I think encouraging more younger women to use their voice, speak for themselves is also something. For example, sometime last year, I volunteered with like Firehood. The Firehood, they hosted this girl summit where they encourage more women, younger girls really, between the ages of, I think it was 11 to about 16, to be able to get into STEM. So, we're already kind of prepping them for like things like math, artificial intelligence, coding, software development, and things like that. Those are the kind of things that we need to do. And we need to do and start those kind of things as early as possible. The younger they are, the more malleable they are, until when they become like, very strong and be able to use their own voices to express what their needs are. Of course, mentorship again. I would never stop talking about mentorship because I can tell you how mentorship has changed my life personally. And that's why we extend that same hand to women everywhere. For example, with Leading Ladies Connect, we do have the mentorship program where women are able to sign up on our website to meet mentors, or if you are a woman that wants to be a mentor to a woman, you are able to sign up on the website as well to be able to, cause this positive effect and change that we're talking about. So I think that's one of the ways that I think we can always empower our younger generation and look out for the younger girls coming behind us.
I think that the leading Ladies Connect, you're doing a great job. Well done to you and your team, Abimbola. I'm so happy to hear that you're giving all the support to women, and hopefully in the near future we will be way ahead of where we are right now. The UN says it will take us another about 200 and something years before we can actually actualize gender parity. But I would like to ask you at this point, when we talk about immediate action, what can we do now as an organization, as an individual, as a people? What can we do now to move our steps forward?
Well, I think one of the things that we can do right now would be to create more safe spaces for women to thrive. Spaces where women can learn, grow, become the best version of themselves. What action can I take right now? Everybody has a friend, a sister, a nephew, a niece, a cousin, foster those kind of inclusive environments where women feel seen, women feel heard. You were talking about it in your introduction, and I think it really resonated with me. If a woman does something that you feel is worth celebrating, amplify the voice of that woman by sharing it, talking about it, encouraging other women to support that woman as well. Again, mentorship. I would never stop singing and talking about mentorship because there is something that does if you're able to find a good mentor who is willing to pour into you. Another way that we can continue to amplify voices of women would be to create online and offline platforms where women can find resources, connections, create communities where women feel welcomed, seen. We're operating in this environment where everybody seems to keep to themselves. One of the reasons why Leading Ladies was born was because we don't want women to feel like they're on their journeys alone. They are able to find women who are probably at their level, maybe some even way ahead of where they are right now. So encouraging conversations that also, lead to empowerment, positive interactions, and, conversations for growth basically would be one of the ways I think that we're able to make that change and make it, make that ripple effect show as quick as possible.
It's been great speaking with you, Abimbola Akinnuoye, the founder of Leading Ladies Connect. Before I let you go, Abimbola, one more question for you, please. So it's IWD 2025 Accelerate Action. What final words do you have for young ladies who are still trying to find their potential and their feet in their respective fields?
Well, I would say the world is making progress, but we need to move faster. What's my final word to women everywhere watching or listening to this? It would be use your voice, start from where you are with what you can, right? Because sometimes we feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to say anything until when I feel like I'm big enough or I'm popular enough, or, you know, with social media these days, people feel like, oh, until when I have a large following. Your 10 followers are good enough for you to start talking about things that interest you. Whatever it is that you want to put out in the world that you think is going to bring that change, start now from where you are with what you have. You will continue to improve as you go on, and your journey will definitely encourage somebody else to probably take that same courage to start theirs as well.
What's a wrap? What a nice way to end today's conversation. We didn't just talk breaking bias, we challenged it. We confronted it and committed to dismantling it in both education and the workforce. Abimbola Akinnuoye reminded us that bias isn't simply a word, it's a barrier. And breaking it, that takes awareness, courage, and most importantly, action. So as we step away from this conversation, let's take these lessons with us. Champion inclusivity. Amplify voices that need to be heard. Advocate for fair opportunities. Because when we break bias, we don't just open doors for ourselves, we pave pathways for generations to come. A heartfelt thank you again to Abimbola Akinnuoye of the Leading Ladies Connect. Thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom with us today. And to you, our audience, thank you for being a part of this movement. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep accelerating action. And above all, let's keep building a world where talent, not bias, determines success. Until next time, stay bold, stay empowered, and keep leading and taking charge. I'm your host, Mama Zawonker. Bye-bye.